Good morning. So good to have a little bit of time together today. And I'm going to be in the book of Genesis and over in the book of Ephesians, chapter 5. And just going to run over a couple of things. I'd like to remind you of our missions month that we had all January. We talked about missions. And I know it's a little bit in the past, but hope you'll remember to keep your missions. I'm looking over here for my mission book. Keep your missions book near your Bible or on your desk or somewhere where you remember just to be praying for these missionaries. Here's the Hope Children's Home, and that's a true to life orphanage looking after kids. And there's three different homes they have, and I don't know how long the devil's gonna put up with them because boy, Satan hates people who are raising up children for good and for God. On this same page is Chad and Sarah Inman in Thailand, and the Johnsons in Brazil. We support the dad and mom as well as two of their adult married kids, all three of the families in Brazil, and just great people serving God. And take time to pray. If you think about these folks and take time to think about them, and let's remember our missionaries. Remember our missions pledge. If you haven't made a pledge to missions, if everybody in our church gave what they gave last year to missions, and then we just had everybody give $1 more a week or whatever, could be $100 more a week, but something, just something. And if everybody that didn't give anything regularly to missions started giving regularly to missions, just every little bit, what a difference it'd make. Now, if you've been at church lately, you know the building's full. So be praying. We've got so many things wanting our money. And recently I had somebody, there was a need for some money, and I thought, we got a line of people wanting the money, and there's needs, but we have to step back and go to our Father and ask Him. But I want to encourage, let's be faithful to our missionaries in all these years. From our first Wednesday night, we started giving to missions. Our early missions giving was not in the budget. We just took Wednesday offerings for missionaries, and we picked up more and more missionaries from there. But from the very first September of 1982, we've been giving faithfully to missions, and not a missionary has ever missed a promised check. And I want us to keep that up, of course. But thank you for your faithfulness. The tithes support the ministry. The missions pledges support the missionaries. And then our offerings above the tithe, that cares for buildings, and that's how it was in the Old Testament. The buildings were all built by offerings. And so anyway, pray for our missionaries. Great people. And I'm using my Bible. It's kind of torn up today. It's a little bit of a mess. But hey, if you are faint of heart, if you're of the modern mentality of thinkers, and you're wanting something smooth and palatable this morning, we've just been talking about missions. Maybe just shut this off and don't listen to the rest, because I'm going to ruffle some politically incorrect feathers here. Might be good to find your safe space or your comfort blanket or your comfort dog or whatever and shut me off. But I want to take a couple minutes and talk about some things. This is not only, I think it's Bible, but I think it's old-fashioned American. And in Genesis chapter, let me read a couple verses because the Bible's always a good place to start. Genesis 3:20, it says, "And Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living." Now, do you know, never in the Bible, we don't see that God named Eve, but Adam named Eve. Well, what did God call him? Well, let's see what God called him. Over in chapter 5 of the book of Genesis, verse 2, "Male and female created he them, and blessed them," the male and the female, "and called their name Adam in the day that they were created." And so do you know what God called Adam and Eve? He called Adam and Eve Adam. She was called after his name. Can you even imagine such a bigoted, I don't know what other terms they use for people, but it's just Bible. God called their name Adam. He made them male and female and called them Adam. Now, Adam wanted a name for his wife, so he called her Eve. So if you want, excuse me, if you want to look over to the book of Ephesians, Galatians, Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, in Ephesians chapter 5, we're going to talk a little bit about this, but this is kind of a subtle thought, and it's one of these things that is the deterioration of society. And you've seen so much of it around you. The deterioration of the Department of Justice and the FBI and the judicial and the executive branch. I mean, our government, it's been a mess. But a lot of the things that are creeping in, they're eroding the foundation. See, if the Bible says if the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? And so the things that make for a good home, and the home makes for a good society, the home makes for a good church. So anything that can erode and pull away that solid foundation under the home and the family, the devil works at that. And so you have infidelity, you got pornography, you've got divorce, putting ladies working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, not having time to be mom, not having time to be wife, not having time just to keep their own sanity for all the hours they work. All that, it's deteriorating the home. I mean, there was a day when dad worked 40 hours a week and was home Saturday and Sunday, and mom took care of the house and the kids and the food and bought a humble little home and one car, and people got along. Well, now you have to have two incomes of 60-hour work weeks, and it's terrible, but it's eroding. Now, this is one of those things. It's kind of like baking powder or baking soda. I never can remember which is which. And so if I'm making cookies or something like that, and I would rarely do that. I make breakfast stuff normally. But baking soda, baking powder, and I know it makes a difference. You want the right one. And just a little bit, teaspoon of this, half teaspoon of that, whatever. But it's going to make a difference. And little things often make a huge difference. And you have to, this is kind of like men wearing pink. It's not a sin for men to wear pink, obviously. But pink is being pushed on our men. It's not just a guy's got a lavender shirt that goes good with his complexion and his suit. Pink is being pushed on our guys. And no matter what anybody else wants to say, when I was a kid, no boy was going to wear pink. No boy was going to have a pink ballpoint pen. No boy was going to have a pink ball. No way. Pink's for girls. And just as simple as that. Purses. Man picks up his wife's purse and holds it like this, it is not mine. I'm not a purse carrier. Well, there's certain things that identify with men and certain things that identify with women. And those are, the again, foundational things trying to be rooted and torn apart there. But I just want to take just a quick moment. When God made Adam and Eve, he made them flesh. And in Ephesians chapter 5, in verse 31, it says this, "For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined to his wife, and they two shall be one flesh." The man leaves his father and mother, which is a whole other subject I want to talk about, because we're losing that. I think 4 or 5 times the Bible says a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave unto his wife, the two shall be one flesh. I got a couple here, Matthew 19:5, Genesis 2:24, and there's others. But leaving your pink and leaving your father and mother as a man, I'll come back to those another day. But this one flesh thing, this idea that we're one. Now, there are rich and famous people, and they will, Hillary Rodham Clinton. She kept her maiden name, I guess it was her maiden name. Movie stars will do it. Famous, maybe rich and famous for some whatever reason. Who knows what they do it. But this endless trek of one thing at a time, tearing down its society. And I just want to talk for a minute or two about taking your husband's name and getting rid of your daddy's name. And I know I'm going to offend some people, but we've got a culture where ladies want to be independent and free and be their own woman. There are people who are getting married, but they're not changing their name. Yes, I married you, and you're a lady, and I'm a man, and I'm keeping my name. You keep your name, but we're married. That's how it is in the marriage certificate or whatever. I just think it's not good for our society. This thing of being one flesh, it's a reflection of Christ's relationship to the church. This is not just man wanting to be the boss, because let's be honest, men aren't the boss of most homes. Men aren't the boss of most anything. Certainly not anymore. They may have been at one time. This is about a spiritual picture being drawn. And we're going to look at it here in the book of Ephesians. So in Ephesians 5:30, it says we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. Man, the Christian and Christ are one. We're members of his body, his flesh, and his bone. And you go back over to Genesis 2:23, Adam says, this is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man. This thing of the man and the woman being two, it's a mystery. In fact, somewhere in here, he said, this is a great mystery, but I speak of Christ and the church. I should have written that down. It's right here in verse 32. This is a great mystery, but I speak of Christ and the church. When a girl is born, she's born, or boys, they're born with their dad's last name. That's just typical, traditional in America. And they get that name. And then when the lady marries, her father walks her down the aisle, and the preacher traditionally will say, who gives away the bride? The dad will say, I do, or her mother and I do. And the dad is giving away that girl. She is not his. She is not under his authority, his leadership. He is giving away the bride. Of course, today we've messed that all up. It has nothing to do with there's no symbolism. It's just, this is my friend. He's going to walk me down the aisle. You know, giving away the bride means who's going to walk her down the aisle. No, this is a spiritual, biblical thing. That woman, that these kids belong to their mom and dad. When a Jewish boy became 12, there was a very special ceremony where he takes his father's name, he takes his father's career, and he takes his father's religion and all these things. That was a big thing. And when a girl is walked down the aisle by her daddy, and he says, I'm giving her away, his authority in her life, his leadership in her life, his position in her life, he's giving that all away to the man. The man then comes to the father of the bride, will shake his hand, hug him, do some symbolic thing, take the girl, and he is symbolically taking that girl, and she is now his. Then, and within a few minutes, vows are said, and whatever goes on in the ceremony, and sand poured, or candles lit, or rope braided, whatever the little cute traditions that the young people come up with. But at the end, the preacher will say something like this: I introduced you, Mr. and Mrs., and they'll use the groom's name. Because this girl was given away by her daddy, and now she's accepting this man's name. And people don't like that, but it is. Let's go back to Ephesians 5:31. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church. And so the man leaves his father and mother, he's joined to his wife, the two are one. And that one flesh, that bonding together, that commitment to one another, that unity is a picture of Christ and the church. Over here in Romans, if you go back a few pages, and by the way, the reason, there's a lot about the reason the dad should be leaving, or the man should be leaving his father and mother, but we'll save that for another day. Romans chapter 7 speaks of the wife. For a woman, Romans 7:2, for a woman which hath a husband is bound by the law to her husband so long as he liveth. But if the husband be dead, she is loosed from the law of her husband. And so the wife is for the wife to keep her maiden name when she gets married is saying, I'm keeping my ties to my dad. For the wife to take the groom's name and her dad's name, she says, well, yeah, I want to be one with you, but I'm not, I want to stay one with my daddy too. Or it's my identity, it's my career, it's my financial, whatever it might be, those kind of things. And she's not quite giving herself to this one flesh thing where she and the husband are one. Now, I don't want my wife clinging to her former identity when we got married. We became one, and we joined together, and we were one flesh. We are one person. That's why divorce is so painful. You think, couldn't we just have a peaceful divorce? Try it. It's tearing the flesh apart. And the issue is we're not two independent things. That's what this culture is trying to create, is two independent entities sharing children, sharing a house, sharing a bank account. No, marriage is one. It's biblical. And the joining of the name, that is so significant. Adam's wife didn't even have a name before God. It was, they were Adam. And so I've known widows, happily married, and the widow remarries, which I got no problem with that, of course. But I've known widows who will keep their former husband's name and pick up the new husband's name. And what confusion. Who is she one with? The joining of the names is a picture of the unity of a man and a woman. And so here she's got this name of this former husband. He's dead now. And now she's been carrying that name, but she meets another guy and she's going to marry him. And but she keeps his name. She's trying to stay in unity with a dead man and a living man. And what confusion. Who are you? Who are you one with? Who are you in a relationship with? Who are you knit with? And Romans 7:2 I read here, if her husband be dead, she's free from the law. Her commitment, her being bound to that marriage, it's broken. If my wife, if my wife did not want my name enough to get rid of her daddy's name, I wouldn't marry her. That's just me. Now, I'm not saying this is a big, horrible sin. I'm just telling you that is a cultural thing that's going on, and the wrong people are leading that culture. There are people who have no use for the Bible or the principles of marriage, and they are leading this independence. And I think girls who keep their daddy's name probably are doing it out of sincere love and devotion to their daddy. But you know what? They're doing it out of sincere ignorance of the Word of God, because she is to be one with her husband. She's not 3/4 with her husband and 1/4 with her daddy. And we're not talking sexual here, obviously. We're talking about relationships and emotional ties and the ties of life. He gave her away at the altar. When I walked my daughters down the aisle, I gave that guy the dental bills, the hair color bills, the medical bills. He could have their piano, their keyboard, their boxes of clothes. I gave the girl away. She is yours, my friend. And for better and for worse, and for richer and for poorer, I gave that girl away. If my wife died, and of course I'm older, but I don't see me ever wanting to marry again. But if I did, I could not even imagine marrying a gal who says, oh yeah, I want to marry you, but can I keep my dead husband's name? No, you can't. In fact, yes, you can. You can keep your dead husband's name, but you're not getting my name. And you might say, oh, you're so selfish. No, I believe something about this unity. The sanctity of marriage is being shredded little by little. See, that's why divorce is so bad. It's a reality. It's all the way from the writings of Moses to the Gospels that, divorce is a part of life. Why does it happen? Because of the hardness of our hearts. It happens because people are, ugly, sinful, whatever. But divorce is such a horrible thing because it's tearing of the one. And what God hath joined together, let not man put asunder. And the names is just one of those symbolisms that goes along with it. That's why adultery is so horrible, because here I am, a man and a lady are in a marriage relationship, and then one of them gets involved with someone else. Well, who are they one with? Who are they Who are they unified with? Who do they share the world with? Who do they share love with? Who do they share purpose and goals? And that's why it's so bad that couples will move in together. Oh, we'll live together for a while. Well, it ain't working, so I'll go live over here for a while and go live over here for a while and over here for a while. Think, wait a minute, where's the unity? Where's the one flesh? Where is, and there's some biblical principles I could use, but I just want to say this, God called their name Adam. And the mess today is we've got gals wanting to cling to something that they're not supposed to be anymore, or we've got gals wanting to protect their own identity or their own. I don't want to lose my fame. I became a famous movie star with my this name, and now if I get married, no one will know who I am because I'm just taking this name of this loser that I'm marrying. No, 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 no. This is a spiritual thing. The two shall be one. And so they need that one name. And that one name, and it's not a big deal. And we got people in our church who've not done things the way I would have suggested they do it. I'm not the Lord. I don't tell anybody what to do. I might tell it from the pulpit or from here, but it's none of my business. I don't go tell them face to face. I'm going to teach and preach biblical principles best I know how. But I want to encourage you this, the passionate love for marriage and the home and the family is being lost, just one thing at a time, being pulled out of the way. And I remember when my dad left, and Goddard was our family name, of course. And then some years later, when my mom remarried, I would introduce her, and still to this day, when there's guests at our church, my mom's a member of our church, and when I introduce her, I will introduce her before anybody gets a chance to misuse names. This is my mom, Glenna Ryan, and very proud of her. Love my stepdad. We were close, incredibly good family, and but she married Robert Ryan, and that was her husband, and I didn't introduce her. This is my mom. And use her maiden name Johnson or her first married name Goddard. No. This is who she is. She became one in dreams and goals and life and everything with Bob Ryan. And I admire them so much for their marriage and their home. But I thank God for Tammy Goddard. There's most people in our church don't even know my wife's maiden name, because she gave that up. When her daddy walked her down the aisle, he gave her up. And I accepted her, and she accepted me, and we became the Goddards. And that's, thank God for that. So anyway, if that bothers you a whole lot, I'll tune in a couple days, and maybe I'll be nicer the next time. Hope you have a great day.